Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And Mark, let's just have a look at your face when we're starting, just for a little bit. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Welcome to Break Free, the three hidden traps that smart executives get tripped up on when they try to escape the corporate world. Thanks, Mark. In the next 30 minutes, we'll look at the patterns that stall successful transitions to entrepreneurship, what we call E to E, employees that are transitioning to entrepreneurship. So, employee to entrepreneur. And we'll show you a structured path that reduces the risks and accelerates momentum. Then, we're going to show you how to work with us for those of you who want to create options for yourselves. And after that, since this is live and we are not AI clones, we'll answer the questions that you post in the chat. So please make use of the chat. You can win at the corporate game and still lose because you can be indispensable on Friday and completely redundant by Monday. You've seen that with Doge last year, and that's what the jobs report has been pointing to over the last year. You've climbed, you've performed, you've delivered, you've built credibility, and yet you don't control your time, your income ceiling, or whether your role survives the next restructuring. And some of you are burnt out and you've built something impressive that you'll never own. And some of you are watching AI accelerate while quietly thinking, if this shifts faster than I expect, what's my move? Well, your move could be creating optionality by transitioning to entrepreneurship, all while you still have a job. I spoke with a senior professional, we'll just say a senior marketing professional, an executive recently, MBA, 15 years, generous six-figure salary with bonuses. He was definitely succeeding at the corporate game. And yet he told me that he could see parts of his job being automated. Not all, but enough. And that he didn't have anything outside of his job that could quickly replace his income. And that's where the real anxiety lies. It's not the fear necessarily of unemployment. It's realizing your dependency. And the issue isn't even really AI. The issue is that most smart employees don't build optionality while they still have leverage. They wait until pressure forces them to move, and pressure is a terrible strategic advisor. Just ask the nearly 400,000 government workers who met their career end with Doge last year. This isn't about quitting your job tomorrow. We're having a conversation about building power and leverage before you need it. Entrepreneurship used to mean building mostly on your own or with a small team. And that model is changing. Today, the same AI that's disrupting your traditional jobs and that's coming for your job, it can help you build income, leverage, and freedom outside the corporate system. So if you're wondering who's hosting this conversation and why we are qualified to talk about AI in the intersection of entrepreneurship, my name is Sophia Olivas, COO and co-founder of Wisdom Forge. We're high-performing professionals that we help transition from corporate dependency to entrepreneurial ownership using AI-powered systems so they can build businesses and achieve the freedom trifecta, which is time, money, and location freedom. In the early 90s, I flipped a house and used the proceeds to start my first business, which was a full stack web development company, which I sold then 3 years later, granting me the freedom trifecta. And since then, I've implemented AI with Fortune 500 companies, raised millions in capital for startups, and built companies that have achieved successful exits. I'm also a best-selling author of AI books, and I've taught AI at both Berkeley and ASU. I'm focused now on helping employees build something of their own, leveraging AI so they have control over their future. What I'm looking at is the impact of AI replacing humans. And that's where we're looking at in assisting with this program. And joining me is my partner, Mark Byers, CEO and co-founder of Wisdom Forge, an employee. He served as a CFO and in-demand turnaround expert. He's a licensed CPA who has helped numerous companies work through and emerge from distress. Mark's successfully completed the ETE transition, and he'll tell you a little bit more about that later. And he's on his way to building a multi-million-dollar accounting and business advisory firm. So now that you know where we're coming from, let's zoom out, and I'm going to throw a challenge flag. Consider that the corporate system isn't broken. It's just merely optimized. And it's optimized to keep talent inside the system. So Mark's going to walk you through what we call the employment trap and the 3 hidden E to E traps that stop smart people from creating real leverage. Now, as Mark speaks, I want you to just think and ask yourself, where are you still thinking like an employee, even though you want entrepreneurial freedom? Mark?
Thanks, Sophia. And thanks really everybody for being here. We know that you could be spending your time doing a lot of other things, and we really appreciate you spending your time with us and giving us your time. So what do we mean by the employee trap? We're not talking about a bad job or bad companies or you being lazy. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about how good employment is at solving one specific problem. And that problem is instability. A corporate job gives you a paycheck that you can count on. It gives you a ladder. It gives you structure. You've got a scope, a boss, a process, and a system for escalation. You learn how to manage risk. You learn how to protect reputation and operate inside a clear set of rules. And that's not a flaw. That's the point of employment. It works. But here's how it becomes a trap. The longer you succeed inside that environment, the more you get trained to need that environment. You get really good at operating with guardrails. And these are things like clear authority, defined KPIs, consensus and approvals, data, meetings, and precedent for how you do things. And most of the time, if the decision's big enough, it's not even in your hands anyway. There's always another layer of corporate people to make the decision. And that creates a kind of safety because your risk is shared. Entrepreneurship is the opposite. There's no escalation path. There's no approval process. There's no committee. There's no one else to absorb the blame. You are the committee and you are the decision maker. And the feedback loop isn't internal anymore. It's completely external. The only question that matters in entrepreneurship is, does the market respond? Do people care? Do they buy? And do they pay? That's why high performers in the corporate world sometimes struggle with the transition to entrepreneurship sometimes. They're not because they're not smart, but it's not because they're not hardworking. It's because they've been trained to win in a system where the rules are clear, and entrepreneurship starts when the rules are not clear. In corporate, you're rewarded for preventing visible failure. In entrepreneurship, you have to be willing to look a little messy while you figure it out. In corporate, you're rewarded for optimizing within structure. And in entrepreneurship, you start before the structure even exists. In corporate, you're rewarded for reducing uncertainty. And in entrepreneurship, you're rewarded and you move while uncertainty is still on the table. That friction isn't a character issue. It's just a different operating system. And until you see that clearly, you'll keep trying to solve entrepreneurship problems with employee tools. And that's where people stall out. So let me be clear. You're not broken, you're trained. And training can be rewired. And the first place this shows up is subtle. It sounds responsible and it sounds really smart. It's called waiting for certainty. So this is the first trap, waiting for certainty. This is not the busy work trap. That's coming next. This one happens before you even start moving. Waiting for certainty is the pause button. It's the voice that says, I'm in, but not yet. It's the voice that says, let me get a little more clarity, or let me think this through, or let me make sure I'm not making a mistake. And if you've been a leader in a company, that mindset makes total sense. You've been trained to move after validation. You gather data, you model the downside, you align stakeholders, you reduce risk before you make the call. In corporate, that's called being responsible. But in entrepreneurship, you don't get certainty up front. You get certainty after contact with the market. And that's the flip. Inside a company, evidence justifies action. And in the market, action creates evidence. So if you keep waiting to feel ready, you never enter the arena. And if you never enter the arena, you don't get feedback. And if you don't ever get feedback, you don't get clarity. That's why this is a trap. It feels smart, it feels careful, it feels responsible, and it produces nothing. So what do you do instead? You run a small, controlled test. Not quitting your job, not betting your house, not some dramatic leap. A controlled test is simple. You put a real offer in front of a real person and you ask for a real commitment. Because commitment is the signal. And the strongest commitment signal is money. So here's an example. Let's say you have an idea for an advisory service, coaching, consulting, whatever. The employee brain says, I need to figure out the perfect offer first. Perfect messaging, perfect pricing, perfect plan. And the entrepreneur brain says, I need to find the right people who actually want this. So the test is, you pick a target person. You describe the problem you solve in plain language. You offer a paid diagnostic or a paid pilot, something small, specific, and real. And then you have 10 real conversations. What you're looking for is not applause. You're looking for signal, something that sounds like, yes, I want that, or no, I don't want that, or I don't get it, or I want it, but not at that price, or I want it, but it needs to be packaged differently. See, that's all clarity, and that's all good. And notice what we did there. We didn't build anything, we didn't plan anything, and we didn't polish anything. We just created market contact. And that's the antidote to waiting for certainty, because certainty comes from evidence. Evidence comes from action, and action comes from getting out of your head and into real conversations. Now, here's the key distinction, because people mix these up. Waiting for certainty is when you don't move because you want clarity first. Confusing planning with progress is when you do move, but you move into activities that feel productive while avoiding the market. So trap one is a refusal to act, and trap two is action in the wrong direction. And that's where we're going next. Trap number two is confusing planning with progress. And this is the big difference than waiting for certainty. Waiting for certainty is when you don't move. Confusing planning with progress is when you do move, but you move into the stuff that isn't very productive, but it's familiar and controllable. And for most people like us, like me, finance people, operators, executives, this is where the wheels come off. Because you're not sitting on the couch, you're working, you're building, you're being responsible, but it's not producing any traction. Here's what it looks like in real life for an executive or a finance-minded person. You build a spreadsheet model with 5 tabs and scenarios. You obsess over pricing, margin, and the perfect package. You create a chart of accounts in your head before there's ever even one transaction to record. You research software, QuickBooks versus Xero, HubSpot, Ignition, CRM, payroll, banking, bill pay. You map out the close process. You design your KPI dashboard. You create a 90-day forecast. You draft a policy manual for things you haven't even done yet. You set up the LLC, the operating agreement, the business bank account, the insurance, the whole back office. You build a budget and a hiring plan for a business that doesn't even have customers yet. And listen, none of those things are bad. They're all good. They're smart. The problem is timing. If you do all that before the market has confirmed anything, you're not building a business. You're building a simulation of a business. It's internal activity, not external traction. And internal activity feels amazing because you control it. There's no rejection. There's no awkward conversations. There aren't any no's. There's no reality check. But entrepreneurship doesn't pay you for being prepared. It pays you for solving a problem someone is willing to pay to have solved. So here's the clean test. If someone can't pay you today, If there's no clear path for money to exchange hands, there's no proposal or an invoice or payment link, then you're not in the market yet. You're preparing to enter the market. And preparation is not participation. This is where high performers lose months and sometimes even years because they confuse effort with progress. And in entrepreneurship, progress has a scoreboard, and it looks like this. Did you have real conversations with the right people this week? Did you make a clear offer? Did anyone commit? And did anyone pay? If the answer is no, your next move is not refine the spreadsheet. Your next move is exposure. Exposure means more conversations, more offers, more follow-ups, and more direct asks. Because the market doesn't reward invisible excellence. You can build the cleanest model on earth and still have zero revenue. You can have the perfect internal process and still have nobody buying. So the order really matters here. Customers first and then systems. Revenue first and then optimization. Demand first and then infrastructure. And if you're wired like me, this is the uncomfortable part because you want to build it right. But right comes after real. Let the market shape what right is. Now, even when people start testing and even when they start focusing on revenue, there's one more trap that slows this whole transition down. And it's not tactical, it's personal. Trap number 3 is trying to do this alone. And I'm going to push a little here because this one is sneaky. People don't call it a trap. They call it being disciplined or private or independent. But a lot of the time, it's just isolation with a better label. Here's why it matters. In the corporate world, you've built in structure and feedback. You have meetings, you have deadlines, you have coworkers in cross-functional teams. You have someone reviewing your work. You have a boss, a board, and a chain of command. You have a system that forces decisions to get made. Even if it's annoying, it creates motion. When you step into entrepreneurship, that structure disappears overnight. Now it's just you and your thoughts. And if you've got a strong mind, which most executives do, your mind can become a liability when it has no external friction. So you can think yourself in circles, you can overanalyze, you can second guess, you can work nonstop without actually moving the ball down the field. And the feedback loop slows way down. A simple pricing decision becomes a 2-week debate in your head. A sales conversation becomes, let me rethink my position here. A rejection becomes a full internal audit where you prosecute yourself, not because you're weak, but because you have no calibration. Entrepreneurship rewards speed of correction. And if you don't get speed of correction in isolation, you get it from proximity. Proximity to other operators, proximity to honest feedback, proximity to a structure where your actions are visible and there's some accountability. And that's what compresses time. 2 people can start in the same place. Same intelligence, same experience, and same resources. One works alone, quietly on nights and weekends with no real deadlines and no one to report to. The other plugs into a system with weekly checkpoints, real feedback, and with real people who will challenge them. 90 days later, that first person is still getting ready. The second person has tested offers, adjusted their messaging, and closed paid work. The difference isn't talent, it's time compression. And let's call it what it is. When nobody's watching, comfort expands. When someone expects your update, you move. When you have to say it out loud, your thinking sharpens. When someone challenges your assumptions, your blind spots get exposed. And that's not hand-holding, that's efficiency. Isolation makes every decision heavier. Community makes decisions lighter and faster. And speed matters because when you're slowly deciding, the market is moving, technology is moving, and other people are testing and learning in real time. So if you're trying to do this alone, you're paying an unnecessary tax in time, in momentum, in missed reps, and in missed opportunities. So let me make this personal for a second. So I came out of the restructuring advisory industry, and I spent the last 12 or 13 years advising companies on how to turn around and get out of the distress that they're in. And as a CPA, I know a lot about numbers and finances. And I noticed a year ago that as we were talking about, status meeting and we were talking about who's going to pay next, and how do we collect this bill, and we're talking about large numbers. And I realized that the people I was working for were getting rich, and I had a great salary and some benefits and a bonus program, but I wasn't getting rich. I was building somebody else's dream. And so I had a realization that at 56 years old, I needed to do something different, and I needed to do something for myself. So I started thinking about launching my own advisory firm. And I started thinking and thinking. And I connected with Sophia, and she kept telling me, you got to move. You got to move faster. You got to put an offer in the field. You got to go talk to real people. And when I started doing that, that's when everything shifted for me. When I started doing that, that's when I started getting contracts. That's when I started getting clients. And that's when I started working for myself. And I have so much more freedom. And am I working hard? I'm working really hard. I'm working very hard, harder than I've ever worked in my life. And it is so rewarding. So having someone in your corner, someone to be accountable to, someone to make promises and keep promises with, is so valuable. And that's really the reason why we built Break3. So right now, Sophia is going to tell you exactly what Break3 is. Sophia? I think you're muted because we can't hear you.
I love being live. All right. Thank you so much, Mark. Let's get your slides back. All right. Somebody mentioned number 3 isn't showing. So there you go. There's your number 3. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about what Break3 is and what it isn't. So Break3 is a 90-day DIY AI-powered system that helps professionals design, test, and launch revenue-generating pilots while still employed. So it's customized based on your personal experience, your education, your skills, your resources, and your goal. So you'll start by working with proprietary AI bots and agents that will assess your current skills and your experience and all that. And it'll create a custom structured execution path that moves you from idea to offer to pilot. So it's a very lean matrix way of going about business. And you'll get lifetime access to the membership system, which walks you through using the AI bots and agents via video modules that you can watch and refer back to. You'll get access to a resource vault and a WhatsApp group for asking questions and community networking. You'll also get to attend live weekly AI trainings that will help you along, as well as they're recorded, so you can always go back and look at the recordings. And there's a live open office hour, weekly open office hour, where you can get high-level consulting in a group setting from either Mark or myself. And over the first 30 days, what you have to look forward to is you're going to identify a market opportunity and test it. Then over the following 60 days thereafter, as traction emerges, you're going to formalize it. You're going to build the right systems, structure your pricing correctly, and implement AI infrastructure so the business can run without consuming your entire life. So the result we stand behind is simple. If you follow the program as designed, within 90 days, you'll have a validated AI leverage business concept, a paying market signal, and a working launch system. You'll have created optionality. What this is not theory, it's not another certification, and it's not more content consumption. This is not I'm going to go open a restaurant with the standard 5% profit margins and lousy hours. So even though you heard Mark saying that he's working the hardest he ever has, that's not what you need to do, and that's not how you have to do it. And also, you probably heard that Mark is doing this work, but he's also having the greatest time of his life. So it also doesn't occur as work, but that's not always the model that you need to follow. So I just want to stress that. So this is what can I do with what I already know, with my current skills and resources in the shortest amount of time while I still have a job, while I am busy living life and having a job. So just to answer a few common questions, this system and its AI components does not do all the work for you. While there are automations that shorten the ramp up time for launching, you must take action and do the work. I stand by the fact that AI is a tool, and it will be a powerful tool if you collaborate with it. So we want to really, I want to make sure that I always put forth the human position within the AI, like a human component in it, to make sure that your brain stays sharp. And to start, you don't need an LLC or a sales funnel or a complex tech stack. And if you are new to AI and you're like, I don't know all this stuff, the verbiage and all that, it can help you with that. So it's fine, whatever level you're starting with. If you're a high level, it'll run with you. And if you are a novice and just entering it, it will hold your hand and walk you through it. So Break Free is a DIY program that eliminates drift and over planning with step-by-step roadmap, practical tools, and a proof-driven process that's built to move you from idea to market signal. So by the end of the 30 days, if you execute this plan, you'll have a clearly defined offer and real market validation in motion through outreach and conversations with those potential buyers. So another question that we get asked all the time, why should we do this now? In 2025, US employers announced more than 1.2 million layoffs. That's nearly twice the number from the previous year. And just in January alone, we've had over 108,000 layoffs. So that's the highest since 2009 when we were in that real estate crash. So AI is compressing timelines, and it's moving this optionality from a philosophical conversation, a water cooler conversation, to now it's a strategic move. And now, why should you work with Wisdom Forge? Well, Mark kind of gave you his background. I've given you mine. We've operated within corporations. We've raised capital. We've built companies, and we've navigated downturns and leveraged AI successfully. So we work beyond the academic stuff, and we are results focused. So let's talk about the investment. So we're opening Break Free cohort with 10 lifetime memberships for $297. So just for context, that's one dinner for two in Seattle, New York, LA. Pick your coast. It's a reasonable price. And because this is the founding cohort, the first 10 seats are only $297. So after those are gone, the price begins stepping up until it gets to the access point, the public access point, which is going to be $1,297. So it's the same access for the same program with a different entry point that rewards action takers. So we love to lead by example because that's the way the market works. Right now in this market, action is what's going to be rewarded. You've got to move. Technology is moving at a breakneck speed, and to keep pace with it, you've got to take action and move. So the live Break Free founding cohort kicks off this coming Monday, which would be April 6th. So this is not about quitting your job. It's about building leverage while you still have one. And the smartest professionals I know are quietly doing one thing right now. They're building this optionality before the disruption hits. So if you're serious about creating optionality before the market forces your hand, then this is one of the lowest risks asymmetric bets you can make. This program is for first movers, for those who choose to build and create optionality before they're forced to react. So if that's you, secure one of the founding seats, and here's our guarantee before we move into Q&A. So this is a lifetime access. So if within 30 days you decide this isn't the right environment for you, email us for a full refund. There's no friction, no questions asked. And if you engage with the framework and you execute the plan, I promise you will not be in the same position 30 days from now. You will have clarity, you'll have signal, and you'll have movement. And movement is what's going to change the trajectory. So we'll take a few questions right now. And Mark, I'm going to go through some that I have put up in right now from the chat. And I just want to make sure that these questions are specifically about the transition strategy, because I know some are asking, but I know you want to get some of our opinions. So I'm going to get Mark, I'm going to bring you back up here. And what they wanted to hear was, Why now?
Why wait? Why wait to create freedom? Why wait to start building your own dream? Why wait? I waited so long. I wish I'd done this 10 years ago. That's my answer.
Yeah, I thought about the answer should come from you. Yeah. So I guess for me, if I were to answer that, because I come from an entrepreneurial background, I would say that what I'm seeing behind closed doors with the Fortune 500 companies that I work with, and not just that, attending a lot of even the investor side of things and the family offices, having closed door conversations with them, and even working with the smaller companies, they're they're quickly seeing that for them to keep up and for them to move into and adapt to this technology, not only are they going to bring on this technology, but by bringing on that technology, it is going to remove a lot of jobs that aren't so that will far outpace the jobs that they create. So while this technology will create jobs, absolutely believe that it will not be anywhere as far as the number of the people that are going to lose their jobs. So in I guess my thoughts are I prefer to do things and be strategic about it and create that optionality while as while it's an option versus having my hand forced, like some of the people that we worked with last year with that were affected by Doge and that took the package or were forced out.
Yeah, let
All
me
right.
just add one thing, Sophia.
Yeah.
You talked at the beginning about the person who, the marketing manager, executive that you met, who had nothing else, no other revenue stream, just their job. That was me. That was me a year ago. Now I have, not only do I have the advisory company, but we've also started another company, and so being outside of the corporate binds has just allowed more freedom for me to just create the life that I want and really de-risk my life. So that has been a huge benefit to me and a great big peace of mind.
Okay, here's another great question. So this one says, if I'm still employed full time, how realistic is it to build something meaningful in 90 days?
Well, I think it's very meaningful. Technology has advanced so much that you can leverage all this technology to um, really allow your non-working time to be used really effectively to design your offer, your business, um, get your own traction going while you still have a job. So we're not advising that people parachute out of their job and take a big risk and start from nothing without a backup plan. We're saying design your business now. Go get some market signal. Go get some response from the market. Get some external feedback. Work with other people that are doing the same thing. Sharpen your toolbox. Sharpen the tools in your toolbox, and create something now that you can put the pedal down when it's fully formed, when you formalized it, and you have an option to keep your job or jump into something that's already producing revenue.
Got it. And the next one, let's see. Is this better for people who want to leave immediately, or can it work for someone who needs to move more strategically?
Well, I think it can work for both. Um, if you have the means to and a financial cushion where you can leave now and jump into entrepreneurship with both feet, then you can go as fast as you want. If you What I did was I was very strategic about my transition. So I took time. I studied what I wanted to do. I studied what I wanted to offer. I put market feelers out with people that I knew. I have a pretty big network that I leveraged, and that helped me a lot. But I do think that you can do it either way.
Got it. Okay, I think I'll take this next one. Let's see. What?
Let me read it. What if I do not have a business idea yet, and only
I
know I do not want to stay where I am. Perfect place to be. So our tools inside the Break Free program will help you identify what business idea there is for you. It's a skills analysis. It's takes into account all the things that you love, that you're passionate about, and helps you create not only the idea, but also the offer and a way to approach your target audience. So great. Don't have a business idea yet? Let's generate one for you.
That is so great. And I just want to second what Mark is saying and go a little bit further and expand upon that. It's very easy to jump back into what's known and what's comfortable, like to step into the legacy world and think about that example I gave, like, well, I'm going to start a restaurant that I always wanted to do. Okay, great. Then you're just creating another headache that could be, you know, eliminated when the robots come in and deal with that headache. So this is something different. This is more about creating passive income. So it will help you and it will guide you, and it's all custom. Like you and whoever else is on this at the same time listening to this, you guys could both start at the same time, but you're going to create different products or different services just because you guys have had different experiences, different skills. That's a great thing about AI. It's everything is customizable. So it creates and tailors specific to, maybe you only have 3 to 5 hours a week to allot to it, and somebody else has 15. So it's going to give you a different plan if somebody has different resources and startup capital and all that stuff. So yes, being different. So let's see, what's the next one? Oh yeah, you're going to have to take this one, Mark.
That's
So
fine.
what if
One
my
of the biggest
spouse or
mistakes.
family? Oh,
Well,
well,
let
yeah,
me do
that
the
one
other
too.
one
Yeah,
first. One of the
let's do
biggest
that
mistakes smart executives make when they try to become entrepreneurs. Okay. The
one.
biggest mistake that I made was bringing my corporate mindset into entrepreneurship. And I'm so thankful I had Sophia there to, um, you know, punch me in the shoulder and hit me over the head and remind me that there's nobody else above me that is going to make the decisions. There's nobody else that's going to do the work. There's nobody else that I can rely on to keep myself safe. Like it is all on my shoulders. And once I adapted to that, then there was no looking back. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make. The other is bringing processes over into entrepreneurship that are, so many steps. And many people in corporations are very process driven. And here we kind of throw processes away at the very beginning, and we say the idea is the most important. The market signal is the most important. You've got to take the shortcuts to get the market signal. So you can't really risk, as trap, I think it was trap two or trap one, said, you can't wait for the certainty, and you can't just go do the fancy spreadsheet. You've actually got to talk to real people. It takes getting out of your shell, because as the entrepreneur, you are the forward facing, front facing, customer facing person that everybody gets to talk to. So it's mindset and bringing the corporate tools into entrepreneurship. A lot of them just don't work. Let's see. What if my spouse or family thinks leaving corporate stability is reckless?
It's another
Yeah.
one for you.
So I think that's probably a common concern, and I totally understand that, because I have a family, I have a wife, I'm putting two kids through college right now, and this was a big deal for me to come out of corporate and start my own business. But what I did was I talked to my wife, I talked to my family, I talked about the plans that I was making, and I talked about the market signals that I was receiving back, and they got on board because they trusted me. They got on board because they saw that I was doing something different. They got on board and supported me because they saw it was also my dream, and they knew that I was doing it very strategically. So that's what I would recommend, is talk to them. You can't over communicate enough with your family about what you're up to. They can be a huge support system.
I can only speak from the outside of this, having been an entrepreneur for my entirety of my life. I can only say that and you probably won't know it until you leave corporate. But the real instability and recklessness is putting your life and your family's life and well-being and financial well-being in the hands of something you have zero control over. And that's what I feel like when you work for somebody else. At any point, they can pull the plug on you. And I think that's reckless, but I'm looking at it from a different point of view. All
Right.
right. At what
That's a very good
point?
point.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. At what point do you know it's time to leave the job and go all in? Ooh, that's another one for you, Mark.
When you have enough market signal to know that you've got something real, that people are going to uh, buy your service or buy your product, and you can see that you've had enough conversations that people are buying into you as the entrepreneur, they're buying into your product, and you can see you're gaining some traction. I think that's the point.
Okay, that's fair. All right. So then I guess I'll take a step, and I do have something to say about that. Then I would say when you have consistently replaced your income is probably
Great
a
answer.
good signal.
Yeah,
And
great answer.
yeah, only you'll know what's consistently is. I don't know if that's like 3 months for you, 5 months, but consistently have replaced your income. All right. So last question, and then we're going to end this. Let's see. What role does mindset really play here? And where do you see people self-sabotage the most? Okay.
I'm
Can I
going to
go
let you
first on
take
this one?
that one first.
Yeah. So, all right. Mark is going to have some personal experience to say on this, but I'm just going to say it from just watching and helping out a lot of people make that transition, especially dealing with the government workers that we dealt with last year, affected by Doge. Anxiety, like the mind chatter, is like your worst enemy. And it tends to also be, in addition to that, the second worst enemy is all the people that love you, like your spouse, your partner, your kids, your mom, your family members, because they want to protect you. And you know that, and their job is, and they're stuck in the legacy world too. Like everybody's, looking for a life raft right now. So all I can say is that the only, not the only, the best cure, one of the best cures for anxiety is action. And this program really helps with that because it gives you step by step what to do. And you can always interact with it even when you're having that anxiety. And you can even break it down further, like, well, I don't know how to do this. And then it breaks it down. But it doesn't leave anything to chance. And you can never say, well, I don't know what to do next. Or I don't know how to do it. You're out of those excuses. You can't use them anymore because with AI, it's always there 24/7, right by your side, and it lives to support you in achieving your goals. Like that's what makes it happy if it was to say that it's happy, right? All right, go ahead, Mark.
All right. So mindset is so important in making this transition. And I've learned a lot about mindset in the last few years. So I know that there's two kinds of mindsets. There's a fixed mindset and there's a growth mindset. And entrepreneurship kind of demands a growth mindset where challenges are appealing to you, where the next problem is an opportunity to learn and an opportunity to challenge yourself. And failure is just a stepping stone to something much greater than where you're at right now. So mindset is really, really important. I can't stress that enough. And being in a program like Break Free will get you there. Um, will put a demand on your mindset to be more challenged, to see mistakes not as a failure, but as an opportunity to learn and improve your product offering, improve your servicing, improve your conversations with people, improve your communication with people. It will bring up a lot of stuff that doesn't work and give you an opportunity to fix it, give you an opportunity to work on yourself in a way that not a lot of opportunities, not a lot of other things do. Um, Mindset's really, really important.
Yeah, agreed. Um, and we touched about that. It's interesting because when we first started creating this, Mark, feel free to ad lib here. When we first started creating this, we were working a lot on mindset. And then as things started moving so fast with technology, I was like, man, it's not even about mindset anymore. You just got to move. You have to move. And I'm going to give you guys a visual because this is what it's like. Before, the legacy world was like, I'm going to say some phrases which are probably stuck in your head. If you're younger, if you're Gen Z, then this bears no resemblance to your life. But it was always about you only have one time to make the first impression. And so it was all about preparing and foundational work and building that first impression, like perfection, right before you launched. And that way is gone. It's not. Now it's like everyone's building the airplane while they're flying in the air. Like they launched it off a cliff and they're building it before to keep them up before they crash. And it's just a different way to go. So that's why I'm saying the market just really it really just rewards and moves and bends to action right now.
Yep, I agree with you. And mindset plays a huge role in whether or not you are an action taker. Um, the entrepreneurial world is fast. When opportunities come up, you have to grab onto them and not let anything stop you. Like as Sophia said, what's the bigger risk? Is the bigger risk you try a business and you fail, or is the bigger risk you never find out what you're capable of? You never find out and reach your potential. And that became the decision point for me. I wanted to know what I was made of. I wanted to know what I was capable of. I wanted to know how good of an entrepreneur I could be, and that's when I took the leap.
That's so great, Mark. Any last thoughts that you want to give to people that are in a position that you were in really recently and that are considering and thinking about, making that E to E switch?
Yeah, I think this kind of transition demands some real soul searching, and it demands some real thought, and it demands some real conversation between you and the people you love about what you want for your life. And I think it needs some forethought, but I also think that um, it 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 deserves some exploration. And this is a great break free is a great way for people to explore these options. It's a great way to explore entrepreneurship at very low risk. And the tools we provide, the training, the office hours, the conversation, so worthwhile. And I, I think there's no time like the present to do something like this now.
Absolutely. So if you're interested in Break Free and you know that this is for you and you want to become one of the founding cohort members, there is a form that we have. You can sign up there. There's also a website and a QR code that will be going out on this page. And this will be on repeat and replay. And you'll see the QR code and the link in the comments as well. So thank you so much for your time. And I just wish everyone success and buckle in for this bumpy ride that we have coming at us.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.